Hello, my name is Faith Jean, and I'll be introducing Physics 2212 Lab 1 Charge Tapes. The purpose of this lab is to create charges between two insulated objects, which would be two pieces of tape, and determine the excess amount of charge on one piece of tape. The preliminary results from this experiment are that the tapes repel each other because they have the same charge. The tapes are positively charged. The charge on the tape is 2.33542 times 10 to the negative 8 coulombs, and the magnitude of the excess charge is 1.45908 times 10 to the 11th electrons. Key concepts for this lab include the gravitational force, which is the force that attracts any two objects with mass, Newton's second law, where a force applied on an object at rest causes to accelerate in the direction of the force, and Coulomb's law, or the electric force, which is the force between two stationary electrically charged objects, which is what we are primarily doing in this experiment. Coulomb's constant is listed below, and the magnitude of the electric force does not consider the unit vector and takes the absolute value of the charge, which is what we will be doing in this experiment. Key assumptions that you can make in this experiment is that you can treat the tape as a point charge rather than a polarized insulated object. The air resistance can be ignored, and both tapes would generate the same amount of charge when being rubbed together. The procedure for this experiment is to 1. Create U-tubes by placing one tape on a table and taping the other on top, and you would repeat this another time. You pull off the U-tape from the base tape, and then you observe the interactions between the two U-tapes. Then you would observe the interactions between the U-tape and a charged plastic object. We used a pen. Then finally, you would suspend one tape on an object of equal height and then place the other U-tape below the suspended U-tape and observe the interactions, and you would also record the distance between the tapes. The observations observed between the interactions between the U-tape and the hand was an attraction. Between the U-tape 1 and U-tape 2 was a repulsion, and the U-tape and the negatively charged pen was an attraction. Therefore, we can conclude that the tapes are positively charged. This is the computational model used to derive the calculations for this experiment. Under constants is the Coulomb's constant, the charge of an electron, the gravitational constant, the mass of the tape, and the distance between the two tapes. Under functions, determines the calculation loop for the E field, and under calculations, it determines the calculations for the magnitude of the gravitational force, which is F times G, the magnitude of the electric force, where the force of gravity and the force of the electric force are set equal to each other, and then you solve for Q, the charge on the tape, and the number of electrons on the tape. On this slide is all the data and calculations derived from this experiment. The length of the U-tape was 0.2 meters, the width of the tape was 0.02 meters, and the mass of the U-tape was 0.0002 kilograms. The distance between the two tapes was 0.025 meters. The magnitude of the gravitational force, which was the mass of the tape times the gravitational constant, was 1.963 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons, which was also given in the glow script. The charge on the tape, which is derived by solving for Q when the force of gravity is equal to the electric force, was 2.33452 times 10 to the negative 8 coulombs. The number of electrons on the charged tape was derived from the charge on the tape divided by the charge of one electron. The number of atoms was derived from the area of the tape divided by the area of an atom. And the ratio of electrons to atoms was derived by dividing the number of electrons on the charged tape divided by the number of atoms on the charged tape. Possible sources of error for these calculations could be rounding or inaccurate measurements of the distance, the length of the tape, or the width of the tape was recorded. What if and why? If the electrons had a positive charge and protons had a positive charge, the respective electric fields of the objects in this experiment would have the opposite electric field, but the observations would remain the same. The reason we want to avoid touching the tape during this experiment is because the charges on the tape would then transfer to the hand, which would decrease the positive charge on the tape. Thank you for your time.